morning. Mic check. Thanks, Large Void. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. It's Monday, May 4th, 2026. Welcome to Pitbull Traders Morning Game Plan. I'm your host, Manny. The purpose of this show is simple: live futures trading, real-time technical analysis, and actionable trade setups. All with the focus on building real trading skills and the mindset designed to drive consistent profitability. Every morning we come in with one goal: to build out the structure before the open so that we're operating in alignment with the day's dominant forces, not guessing, not chasing. All right, guys, let's get after it. Let's map it out and see what we got. So it being Monday, I thought it's prudent to let's start off with a quick glance just at the highest time frame that's pretty relevant, and that's the weekly chart. That's what you're seeing on your left. So you can see here, pretty easy, pretty simple to note that we have, after the move off of 63.53 low, we've just had nothing but bullish flows, and each week has been a follow through. All right, so currently we are opening up this week in the upper portion of last week's wick and above last week's open. All right, so that being said, let's just take one quick glance at the daily chart, and then we'll get down to the 4 hour, because that's really where the rubber meets the road. Let's see, daily. All right, so same thing here, right? So we had this big breakout on April 30th, and now the question becomes, let's monitor this level here. This was the April 17th high at 71.8575 on any pullback, and lo and behold, look, we pulled back today right to the prior week's high, right to last week's balance area high, and we found support, right? So it's off to the races, blue sky territory. The Artemis move is still underway. All right, let's get a little bit more. Let's drill down a little bit more and look at the 4 hour chart. All right, so these are a couple of trend lines I drew out last week, just simply because I was looking for some structure, something to trade around. I also want to know where when you're this high, new all-time highs, you're kind of just figuring out what may stand in the way for profit takes, right? Not that I'm looking to fade anything up here, nothing of that nature. I just simply want to know where I may run into trouble if I'm in a long position. And on the 4 hour chart, you can see we're very far away from the top of this channel. The top of this channel is 73.36. So let's just keep that in mind. Also, so this trend line was from the highs to the highs. You can see we wicked below it, and now we just reclaimed it. I love that setup, right? Where bears may see a break of that trend line, they're starting to think of a bearish move, but really the 21 period moving average just held us, and we're pretty much holding shallow supports above prior week's balance area. All right. So the one thing I'm noticing here is this high here, the prior all-time high, which was made during the Globex session, 72.23 quarter. We have to keep that in mind, right? Because we just came down and tested it once, and it held as support, right? So this high here held as support. Oh, nope, that's not going to work. We wicked below it, and buyers stepped in, supported the market. We overran it a bit, but we reclaimed it. Now we're above both trend lines, okay? All right, so we're going to monitor this 4 hour wick, right? I think it's important to understand how we develop, because this candle just started to form. This 4 hour candle starts at 9 o'clock, and we just started to form. If we cannot get above this candle body or stay within this candle body high and we start eating into this wick, that would signify that these buyers might be on notice that their positions are going to be liquidated. And then at that point, we'd have to look down to the 71.85 high, which comes in right here, right? We have to start looking at that as potential support for any dip buys, right? And I love the way it lines up really well with this higher time frame channel support. So if we do something like work a little bit sideways here, and I'm going to go into that in a minute, why I think that might be an option, and we come down, right? That would be probably setting up tomorrow. Yep, that would be tomorrow. And that support comes in at 71.85. I mean, rarely does the market give us exactly what we want, but that's definitely something we need to consider if we start working into this 4-hour wick here, okay? Now, when we go into the 15-minute chart, we're going to highlight exactly what we need to be looking for to see the early signal to see if we're going to start eating into that wick, and therefore maybe this low is going to get retested. And we have setups. If you guys are signed up for the market blueprint, you already know this trade was excellent this morning. We got long at 72.21, and we're still sitting in some of that. So feeling really good about that trade. But if we work lower, then we'll just close it out. All right. So let's get down into the 15-minute chart. Let's get a little bit more granular, right? Where the rubber meets the road, and decide what are we going to do for the day and how can we frame this out so that we're operating in alignment with the dominant force of the day. So one thing I want to point out also is that, so look, we had this move higher, right, on Friday. This move higher was a breakout. Right, you can kind of see it in this wick here, and then the market. There was some news about. I think there was some tariff news from some Trump tariff news on the UK, and we sold off pretty hard. Okay, and what's interesting to note is that buyers stepped in right away and bought the dip, right to the 21-period moving average, and they failed to gain any traction. Okay, so then for the rest of the day, we continue to work lower, making lower high, lower high, lower high. And that probably had bears somewhat emboldened, right? Closing right at the low, but closing at the low in a strong bullish uptrend is a gift, right? I frequently post in our private community when we close on those lows, I'm like, who's buying the dip with me? Because that's definitely a good setup. I did not buy the dip on Friday before at the close. I was hoping that we would gap down and gap down. I was looking for a gap down, maybe into. I'll point it out to you guys right here, right? What I was looking for on any gap down, which actually materialized. See, I actually had on the Sunday open, I had a buy order at 72.12 quarter. Dude, we came down and traded 72.13 and launched. So I missed that one, but I did catch it at 72.20. All right, let's get into today. Nobody cares about that. Everyone cares about where can we make some money today? All right. So as we do every day, we're going to cover the most bullish outcome, the most bearish outcome, and a few trap trade ideas. All right. So opening up here at 72.48, if we get the move higher, right, and we can work through the settlement price, which is 72.58, get above it and demonstrate some acceptance, right? Then at that point, we can start looking for long ideas with our backs up against the top of this balance area, right? And that balance area is pretty much trading right now at 72.53. Let's call it 72.50 to 72.55, right? Okay, so if we get this pullback, if we do get the pullback and this balance area holds, then at that point, we can start looking for long trades, long entries that get us into a trade with our scales coming off. But really what we're going to be looking for is a move back into value, right? Into Friday's value. So value area low is coming in at 72.64. Hang on. Let me just get that right, because it's literally right. It's overlapping the open. So let me get this out of the way. I'm just going to put this up here for now. All right, let me clear this out. All right, so if we get an open here at 72.40, let's say 49.50, I would quote the current price. If we get the move higher and we get back into settlement, typically what happens is you hit settlement, you get a small fade, right? At that point, and it's important to gauge that fade, right? So if we hit settlement and price just drops 10, 15 points, then we know, hey, there's a higher probability that that's going to hold as a resistance. All right, at that point, then we're waiting for the reclaim. But if we drop like 5, 3, 4, 5 points, and then immediately get back and start testing it again, that's going to be the sign that it's going to reclaim. And at that point, we can start looking for long ideas, right? And once we get that long trade, right, we want to see if price can find acceptance back within yesterday's value area, right? Because yesterday's value area low, where 70% of Friday's, the value area is where 70% of Friday's volume occurred, right? The market finds balance between value area low and value area high. Value area low being 72.64 and value area high being 72.86. All right, so if we can get back above 72.64, show some acceptance, then typically the rule of thumb is that price will traverse the value area. So it'll ultimately test 72.86. All right. And so the one thing we want to be aware of is the volume point of control, like which is the price where the most volume traded on Friday is 72.72. So typically what you want to do is you want to be taking your scales out ahead of that and being a runner, and hopefully see if that runner has some legs. All right, just give me 1 second here, guys. Let me just sort this one thing out.
Hey, good morning, Manny. Is my mic working?
Okay, hang tight.
Thank you, sir.
Have to sort something out here very quickly. Okay, where is that? I just got to get this email done. Oops. Channel. Almost there.
Well, good morning.
Thanks for bearing with me, guys. Hang tight.
I don't want to talk. I know Manny. Apparently, Manny doesn't have my mic on.
Multitasking. Here. Okay. Boom. Boom. I know. Leave me alone. All right. Sorry about that. Small distraction. All right. So we're covering the most bullish move, right? And if we get up into value area, the rule of thumb, if you get into value area and price displays acceptance within the prior day's value area, reclaiming either end of it. In this case, it would be 72.64. The rule of thumb is that then you will traverse the value area and tag the opposite end of value. So in this case, today would be 72.86. We can take our scales ahead of that. We can take our scales at value area low at 72.64 if we're entering off the settlement, 72.58. And then we're scaling into 72.72 with ultimately a target of the overnight high at 72.79. There's the opening bell. And ultimately 72.86. All right, so that covers the most bullish argument, right? Let's go over really quickly the most bearish argument, right? So what does that look? Let's cover the bullish trap trade. Okay, so what does that look like? So say we come up and price tests. Wait, Jesus. Let me just get a snapshot of this. All right, so say price comes up and we trade above the settlement, and then price fails to gain acceptance within prior day's value, right? So it's stuttering, it's not catching a bid, buyers are not following through, and we then get below the settlement, lose it, and we get below yesterday's low. At that point, what we can start looking for is pullbacks to 72.52, 72.58 even, and then look for short scalps that maybe get us back below this pullback low, which is it just occurred, and that pullback low is 72.39, and then maybe even a traverse down to the overnight low, which is 72.13, to satisfy the 96% stack. Okay, so that covers the bullish trap trade. Let's stay on alert for that, and then let's move on to the most bearish argument and see if we get a liquidation break, right? Those are always fun because you get paid fast on those. All right, so most bearish trade. Say we're trading 72.47 and we get an open drive down lower. Get below the 72.39. That begins this little balance area here, 72.47, where we're trading now, fails. And then maybe even an overnight low target. Okay, and while that bearish argument, a lot of people will not consider it, I think we always have to be prudent and objective on what can happen throughout the day. Anything can happen, right? That. And then now let's cover the bearish trap trade. So say we're opening here 72.47. Say price open drive lower, reclaims it quickly. So we come down here, we test 72.39. And what happens is we get that look below and fail where price starts to stutter. It comes up, maybe it fades a little bit more, but then ultimately reclaims. You kind of get this inverted head. And at that point, what we can start doing is looking for long entries in on the break higher or even off of the higher low. Okay, so let's be mindful of that trade. Oh, let me just draw it out again. So we come down, right? Say we come down, we test 72.39, reclaim it, right? Come back up. Maybe we even go a little bit lower, but ultimately price fails to, sellers are absent and we reclaim it. At that point, that would be a great trade where we could target yesterday's low and then ultimately the settlement. Okay, so let's have that potential setup on our radar. And the same thing can manifest at the overnight low, right? The same concept, right? Where we get this strong liquidation break. And I almost like that one better because that one would have bears, really emboldened. They see this big move lower, and all of a sudden, we do the same concept. We reclaim it, maybe traverse a little bit lower, but ultimately put in a higher low. And at that point, we can be getting long with our backs up against this local low, a risk marker, right? And we could look for long trades that get us back into the overnight range and ultimately for a test of 72.52, yesterday's low. All right. So that covers the most bullish argument. We covered the most bearish argument. We covered the bullish trap trade. We covered the bearish trap trade. All right. So one thing that I want to highlight here is we just had the breakout last week, right? And so it kind of makes sense. And what we have to be on alert for is a sideways market, right? While the market digests the breakout, it almost makes sense that we have a day maybe of sideways price action where that breakout is digested. Sellers are unable to gain a following and push price lower, and bulls are still waiting for a pullback or just not ready to commit more capital to the upside. Okay. And at that point, what that would look like is we come back into yesterday's value. Perhaps we can't get past the point of control, or it just starts to fade, and we would get a doji style open, right? We start printing a lot of dojis. We come back down, test yesterday's low, reclaim it, go back up. At that point, what we want to do is be mindful. Hey, this market is not directionally bound. It's more sideways, and the mindset has to flip there. We have to start thinking about scalp trades, fading the edges, preferably the low edges, right? Because we want to stay with the higher time frame alignment. But we have to be on alert for that because we just had the big breakout and buyers did show up, right? But we don't know if they're ready, if bulls are ready to commit more capital. All right. So watch for that. Watch for a move that gets into value but fails to show acceptance, also fails to gain a following below yesterday's low or even lower than 72.39. At that point, we have a sideways market on our hands, and we have to change our approach and start scalping the edges. Also, just the heads up, we have to be mindful of the headline minefield going on right now. There was already this dip that we got to buy earlier. It was a report from Iran saying that they shot a missile at the U.S. Navy, and then the U.S. denied it. So I thought this was a gift. I'm a big fan of buying these news dips because the market is, it's evidence-based trading is what we want to do, right? And the market is showing us that even on dips, buyers are willing to show up. And so it's just absent of sellers right now. Everything seems to be pushing higher. Earnings were strong. The AI, everyone's bulled up on AI. So let's just keep that in mind and use that as part of our context. All right. So we're going to lock in remember, let's keep an eye on the opening print, because that's very important for us to be able to gauge, what the intention of the day is. If we look, we're opening here at 72.50 half, right? And already what we could see is that the market is kind of forming this first 15-minute doji, right? Well, maybe starting to move a little bit lower. So let's just be mindful of that. Nothing really solid materializes until we get below 72.39. That's the one thing we want to be on alert for today, guys. That's the one thing that matters. Make sure you have that written down or top of mind. All right. So we covered the most bullish argument. We covered the most bearish argument, the bullish trap trade, the bearish trap trade, and we covered the dreaded sideways movement. All right. If you guys need to know anything else, if you have any further questions, do me a favor, drop a comment or put it in the chat, and I'll get after it. Let me know if I missed anything. I also rely on you guys to point out when I miss things. I'm human. It does happen. However, I try to be as thorough as possible and make sure that I'm trading with taking trades that make sense, that follow a logic chain, following evidence-based trading. All right. So that's it. You can see here, price is moving a little bit lower, but it doesn't really look like a strong conviction move. We all know that when the ES sells, it's hot knife through butter, right? It's just going to break collapse levels like they're not even there. You're going to bust through 2 or 3 supports. And that's the type of move we want to be on board for. And we don't want to start buying shallow supports. All right. So that's what I got. Let's see what happens here in trade. Hey, Tom, how are you?
I'm good. You got your mic on?
Oh, shit. Sorry about that, Tom. Jesus. I get into this kind of flow where I'm just thinking about what I'm saying, and I fail to check chat. But sorry about that, dude. Sorry.
No, it's just uncomfortable, 2 people talking over. So I just listened and learned. That's all.
Okay. Yeah. No. Well. That's right. That I mean, I think that's what we spoke about before. Let's just make sure that the viewer that we add value to everybody and that everyone gets their point across. I know I want to hear what you have going into today. So the mic is yours.
Yeah. No. Looking at Thursdays, we're kind of into excuse me, into Thursdays. This is the E-minis, but I took out the overnight session, so it's a little bit cleaner. We're obviously below Friday. We've got a high volume area between 72.37 ish. These are not exact, and 72.46. So we're kind of right in there. This is Thursday afternoon, so I want to see if those guys hold it, because we have basically on Thursday we had a double distribution. We were here, we had that low volume area that pushed up, and then prices held in there. This is going to be, for me, and using volume profile, this is going to be really the first area that I'm going to be looking at for support. So the 71.35, so roughly 71.35. I'm sorry, 72.35. Excuse me.
72.35. Cool. That lines up with my 72.39 idea. So you have a match there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm watching the buyers from Thursday afternoon to make sure they're going to stay in there and support that level. If that breaks, we'll probably go back down into roughly the 7,200. Again, into Thursday's range, nothing huge, but let's see how that acts. Contextually, we talked about this, or we have been talking about it, is we've got, going back to April 17th, we broke above the long-term balance area, or high volume area. It wasn't necessarily balanced, but it was high volume area. We broke above that. So we've been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 days above that. And, we're not getting the huge rally that I'd like to see when you break above and start a new distribution, but it's staying above there. So, I think you asked the question last week is, you reference time, and yeah, you do. If it's staying above that, it's positive. And until that 7,088 level holds, which is the top of the long-term balance, or the new distribution, you got to kind of almost take the, buy the dips mentality. So I'm a little bit more bullish than bearish, not huge, but I kind of like to see. And again, you're starting to see a little bit of volume coming in here. And so hopefully these guys hold this level.
All right. Yeah. That's, I think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, for sure. That 72, I agree with that level. And, we always have to be on alert for the sideways market, right? Like, so at least the common pitfall that I've used to fall into always was thinking that there can only be two outcomes, up or down. And that was narrow sighted, because you have to understand that markets move more sideways than they do in a directional move. That's why they call them breakouts and breakdowns, right? But other than that, then the market is just pretty much going sideways, and that could be really hurtful to a trader, that's focusing on directional trades.
Well, the market's going to do what the market's going to do. It's our job to interpret what they're saying and what they're trying to accomplish. That's the most important. If you as traders could get to the point of identify what is the market trying to do and how are they being successful, that makes a huge difference in your analysis or interpreting the price movement. And like today we're kind of stuck between the two. And let's do this. I want to see what the last few days look like. I'll put up a profile just on this distribution higher, going back to Thursday morning, and you could definitely see, we've got these two distributions, and sometimes what they'll do is they go from high volume area to high volume area. And it looks like that's what they're doing today. If this area can hold and we could start rotating back up and, testing the 7270 area, we may rotate back higher, the 7300. But that's, again, I want to watch as a trader. I'm looking at this high volume area from Thursday afternoon. If I'm seeing the buyers, if demand is still there, and start pushing prices higher, I think we're going to start rotating. If we get above probably the 72.58 level, I think we're going to at least rotate back up to the 72.82 level. But that's me. I'm watching for these guys from Thursday afternoon to defend their price level.
Check. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, real quick, guys, here's a quick read on the context on early on. Let's see if we can get a read on what this day might look like. All right, we can already see that here price is struggling to reclaim the opening print, right, at 72.50, and it's just going side. It's been going sideways for the last 3.5 hours. Let's see if they can gain back, get above the open, reclaim it, and then with the settlement being at 72.58, let's just watch this here and see how it materializes. And then let me give you a quick read on the internals. We'll update those as the day goes on to kind of frame our context. Okay, so here we have let's see, NASDAQ. NYSE is 1-to-1 negative. NASDAQ is 1.5 to 1 positive. All right. And so we have a mixed bag that usually is a sign of a choppy two-way market. All right. We also have the VIX, which is gapping up 3%. Nothing serious there. Gapped up to 18. But we had that big VIX bleed on Friday, which, I wanted to point something out. Obviously the VIX is telling one story, but if you monitor flows and you understand flows, you also understand that Vega has shifted quite a bit here. All right, and there is volatility being placed in the being priced in the options market. So we want to be aware of that, just in case. And that can take longer to materialize than, say, a VIX move. A VIX move is way more evident. It was when I discovered that the Vega would be ahead of the VIX was when things started to really make a lot of sense for me. And that's what I'm seeing now, although that can take some time to materialize. I penned an article in today's opening print. If you want to go to MrTopStep.com and check that out, I made an argument for why this melt up happened and why it's not showing any signs of slowing down. And in there, just to give you a little morsel of that, a little preview. Basically, what we noticed all going into last week was that when we were trading that 6,400, that I wrote the article about targeting 7,400, 7,450. What we were seeing was all of these puts being put out, right? All these big put bets were being laid out, and dealers love to collect premium. They love to get paid. So the argument is really that, while the Strait is closed and while all these geopolitical risk headlines are what the news is saying is moving the market, there's only one thing that moves the market, guys, and that's money. Money is the one thing that moves the market. All right. And if you follow the money, that is where you're going to find the truth. And with all those puts laid out, right, and if price went down lower and those dealers were going to have to pay that premium, they would have either been selling hand and fist down, or they were going to squeeze that premium out. And that's, pretty much what they did. We can see extension of that move here. And now we're trying to just figure out what the next leg is going to look like. And so that's why I mentioned, Vegas pricing is some volatility. I wouldn't expect that to materialize. It's hard to tell, right? But because these are, net expirations for across the month. But I would say that it's probably going to be, it's looking like it's outdated to like next week or even the week after. We'll have to keep an eye on it. I'll continue to update you guys as the time evolves. All right, so it looks like we're reclaiming the open here, getting above the opening print, right? Now we're about to test settlement at 72.58. Let's watch here. Always got to be on alert for the dreaded chop shop day. Nobody wants that. End up clicking yourself broke.
Yeah, it seems like the last couple Mondays has been that. When I've been doing this, it's been kind of sideways, not a lot of range.
Yep. If you can see here, we couldn't even get. We're having trouble getting to that settlement.
Exactly.
Right? We're having trouble gaining any traction above yesterday's low, which is 72.52. Let's continue to monitor it here, but definitely not. There are no so off the open drive. The most bullish argument is off the table now because we can see prices just stuttering. You know, we're open now for what 20 minutes, and we have a 14-point range. Right. That is not a market that's showing much conviction off the open.
Yeah, gold continued to sell off.
Yeah, that's a head scratcher there. I'm not sure, Tom, if you saw Trey's Sunday night.
No.
Oh, it was great. It was great. If you guys want to get a broader perspective, a real holistic perspective of the market, check that out. It's on Pitbull Traders YouTube page right now. And what he goes over there is just like a really broad view, holistic view. And he went over some really interesting things, especially as it pertains to the dollar. And also one of the things that he covered was commodities. And that's interesting. That's really interesting what his thoughts are. And I highly suggest you guys go watch it. It's a few minutes. I know I watched it this morning. It was excellent. I got a lot out of it.
If you go into the swing room, I believe he's posted it on the swing room, his charts.
Okay.
Yeah, no, Trey, I would recommend everybody take a look listen to Trey. I mean, Trey knows what he's doing. He brings a lot of value to it.
Correct.
He brings a lot in his presentation. So take the time and listen to what Trey has to say.
Yeah, and don't trade in the closet, guys. Look, when it comes to big picture perspective, right? You want to consider as much as possible, right, without getting analysis paralysis. And I think Trey, for me, is really driving it home. Really liked what he said. The one thing that stood out to me was really what he said about the commodity space. I think that's really interesting. It's worth your time. I believe it's just like a 10 or 15-minute video. It's not very long, but yeah, you definitely want to check that out because it's good stuff.
Yeah, it's again, this market is just trying.
Yeah, and as Marlon just posted, Trey is live every Sunday at 5:30. Gets us all ready for the Globex Open. Key timing there.
But here's the question, okay? Are they going to be successful pushing this? If they don't, we could start rotating down to the 7,200 level. That's kind of what I'm watching. Is a break one way or another. It doesn't look like they have. And again, I know I'm being redundant from last week, as we talked a lot about interpreting tight ranges are just indecision by traders. And that's what this really is coming down to. It's indecisive. And it's such a narrow. I was looking, I couldn't even say, it's not even tech that's pushing it. It's anything AI. That's right. The only thing. I almost said software company. It's chips and memory. If you got that, that's what's been pushing, and AI has been pushing. Caterpillar last week. And that's what's pushing. Right now, we've got three sectors up. And again, I'm just using the State Street, but tech is up. Discretionary is marginally up 18 cents. And utilities are flat, up 1 cent. But everything else is down. And it's, as I illustrated, is you take a look at tech is the only thing, if you walk through these, the only thing at highs. That's the only thing that's touching the high at highs is technology. Every other sector is not even not at their highs. I think communications were close, but sideways.
Interesting. So if you guys are getting the execution clock, you know exactly what we're looking for here. So just be mindful of that. And if you guys want the market blueprint plan, go to my X page at mannytrends.com, at Manny_trends. Highly suggest you check that out.
Yeah, even mags aren't even at the highs.
Let's get the Spygate up.
Target filled.
I'm just peeling off some more from that. I'm not sure. Did you guys hear that?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know if you guys could hear that. So I'm just peeling some more off from that, from this early morning buy. I think that we're stuttering here. We're unable to reclaim above. I mean, we'll probably go low, we'll probably go higher, but it's just prudent to take some off here.
Yeah, you know what? It's kind of you take a look at the probabilities, kind of a 50-50 shot which way it goes. But I don't think the market's really telling us one thing or one way or another. And these are the trades that get you in trouble. Or they always historically have gotten me in trouble. Even though the 50-50 doesn't seem like it works out that way. Where'd you travel this weekend?
Oh, I didn't. I didn't. That was awesome. We had a dinner last night, which was tons of fun, and we didn't go anywhere. It was nice resting weekend. It was awesome. Yeah. Yeah. We went to this this dinner last night, which was a ton of fun. It was down by the yacht club. Super fun with hanging out, party with those guys. I probably shouldn't. It's always that dreadful last drink, that gets you. But
oh yeah.
But yeah, that was whatever. I had a good time. Paid the price the next day. Yeah, Easy Money says, Stuart asks, where is Trey live Sunday night? Stuart, he's on
the swing room.
Or you could check him out at Pitbull Traders YouTube channel. And that's youtube.com at Pitbull Traders. And he goes live there. If you're not at your desk, right, you can always watch it from your phone or something of that nature. I think we're going to see some two-way price action here today. I just peeled off more into this high. I'm going to leave the last one in and just tighten up the stop to probably just below. I still have one from 72.21. And I'll probably trail it up, down now, lock in 10, bring it up to 72.31, give it some space to breathe. It looks like we're going to, we're either going to tag the overnight high or the overnight low at some point, right? Satisfy the 96% stat. And if you guys don't know more about that, drop a comment or let me know and I can share that with you. Again, if you guys are watching, if I say anything that you don't understand, please let me know. I only know what to go over if you guys let me know. But so I'm looking for I'm looking to satisfy that 70, that 96% stat and track for that. Always nice to be done. Not done, but have a nice, a good green trade in your back pocket before RTH. I mean, Statistically for me, I do I trade the best. If you review your stats or journal, right, I highly suggest you do that. And then you can find these patterns in your trading. And what I realized was I was doing really, really well between like 5 a.m. and 9 a.m. And so I tend to trade that more. All right, we're testing settlement 72.58. So let's see what we get here. 72.57.75. Just about a tag of the settlement. All right. And then we're getting there we go. You're getting the pullback now. As I mentioned earlier in the pre-market, you can almost set your clock by that, right? You always go up, tag settlement, fade a little bit, and then price resumes or reclaims it. So we'll see what happens here. Hopefully we reclaim it. We continue the Artemis move higher, but we'll have to see. Stuart asked, Manny, what time you start at screens every day? 72.21 was really, really early. Yeah, so I'm almost embarrassed to admit this, but I'm typically I get up about 4. I've always been an early riser. It comes really easy to me. So for the last, I don't know, 30 years, I wake up early. I start my day with a workout. And I usually start, massaging the charts, getting ready for the day, seeing what happened in the overnight session. And I can't tell you, that especially, around that, 5:30 to 6 a.m. time frame, you can really catch a good move. And one of the reasons, so where that started from was years ago, I was doing really well trading the Euro future, the 6E contract. And for that, I had to wake up at 2 a.m. to trade it around the European Open. And that kind of just stuck with me. So I'm used to getting up early. I try to have the one drawdown to that, right, is that you can draft your I can't tell you how many times I've drafted a trade plan and finished it at, I don't know, let's say 6 a.m. And by 8:39, I have to redraft it. That's the one drawdown to that.
It's funny. I don't know if we've mentioned it. Is kind of my process. I'll after the market closes, I'll take go out for an hour and a half or so. Get back and I'll work out and I'll look at the charts for another couple hours after that. I do about 2 hours each evening. And I'm probably in here anywhere from 2 to an hour, basically let's say an hour and a half before the market. But the 2 hours in the evening, I'll get 25 or 30 different setups that I look at. And there's many times I'll come back the next morning and go, what was I looking at? That doesn't make sense. Why I get that setup. So kind of double looking at it from a different perspective or some time. It's like, why did I think that was going to go higher?
Yeah, Stuart. So I like to, my statistics showed me that I was getting really good entries and just high win rate around that time. And I started to double down on that. Just conversely, right? My statistics showed me that I was a really crappy trader around the open. And also obviously during 12 and 1 o'clock. I mean, I couldn't get it more wrong than that time. How much sleep do you get on average? Well, I get about I go down pretty early, right? So typically I'm going down at about, I'm settling in at about 9:30, 10 o'clock. Hopefully I'm asleep by 11. So I'm getting like 5 or 6 hours. Enough. But I can't sleep. Me and my wife joke often about it. Sleeping in for us is like 8 a.m.
remember when I was young, I used to be able to sleep. I was up at 2:15.
Yeah. My I have a 14-year-old. I think she slept 12 hours the other day.
I'm jealous.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it.
Maybe every couple months I'll get an 8-hour sleep, and it's like, oh my God. I forgot what it is to wake up feeling good and refreshed. So there was no baseball this weekend at all?
No baseball. No baseball this weekend. No baseball next weekend, which is I'm totally fine with because I was calculating. I've been, we had a couple of really good tournaments that we were playing, and we won 2 of them. We placed in the 3rd, and the boys needed some time off and just rest their bodies and kind of be kids again. And so it's good to read that and give them some time off. Also, I mean, I think I was out on a ball field, something like 13 out of like 15 days. Like it was just bonkers. I was getting burned out. I mean, so it's weird though, because sometimes sometimes I'm dragging, and after big day trading and talking to you folks, and I won't really want to go there, but once I get there, I'm fine, and I get into it. It's really good. Oh wait, is that true? I didn't know that, Stuart. Good to know. Yeah. So how much? So what does it look like for you? How many hours keeps you in line? What do you need to function? 6 to 8. Okay. Yeah, I
understand that.
More and more, I'm starting to understand that really, really well. I don't know what happened. It's like I hit a certain age, and it was just like before and after, right? So it was like before that, I just boundless energy, like always willing to go, go, go. I was always a pretty active person. And then I hit like, I don't know, I think it was after we had the twins, and everything just shifted. It was like I went from having boundless energy to shit. I'm tired again. Like, what is this? Like, I'm just tired all the time. But here's the rub though, right? Tired but can't sleep. That's
the bad part.
That's horrible.
Yes. I'm exhausted, but your mind's going a zillion miles an hour.
Yeah. And if I don't get a solid 4 to 5 hours, I can tell, right? I can tell immediately that I'm not, my cognitive ability is not where I want it to be. And so, that's like, if that'll be the day where you'll see me pivot, where all I'm trading is micros. I'm not really, because I know that I'm not 100% active and so here's guys. Oh man, what happened? News is out. Heads up. Some news is out. Some news just dropped. Let me get Live Squawk on going here, guys. Hang tight. I'll give you the feed right now. Price is jittery.
Any programs on Spygate?
Oh, sugar. Dang it. I wasn't logged in. I didn't realize I wasn't logged in. All right, I got it going now. I've got it going now. So, in terms of sleep, like I don't know if you guys, I'll give you guys a hack. Um, so one, have you? I don't know if any of you have ever tried this, but if you're having trouble, it won't put. If you're having trouble sleeping, take an Allegra, and oh gosh, I can't believe I'm saying this. Take an Allegra and a Pepsid AC. Just do me a favor. Just try it. Allegra and Pepsid AC. One blocks your H1, one blocks your H2, and it clears up your breathing. So it doesn't put you to sleep. It's not habit forming. I don't want to mess with anything like that, but it's non-habit forming. It doesn't put you to sleep, but it keeps you there. Like you will stay in that REM state for a really long time. Just try it. If you're having trouble sleeping, I highly recommend you try it. I was skeptical, and then I tried it, and I was I had one of the best nights of sleep I've ever had.
That makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah. So Easy Money points out news maybe South Korean ship had fire or explosion. Yeah, I saw that come across the Live Squawk feed. I don't know. I guess I couldn't believe that that's what they were. That's what we were selling on, but whatever. We also know that if you're using the execution clock, you know what we're looking for. Again, if you want to know what the execution clock is, go to my Twitter feed at Manny_trends. Find out more there. Right back to the highs. Of course, we knew that, right?
Yeah,
Let's go. BTD. BTD. We're going to break into value here. Second test of the settlement, just like we. So, guys, this is why it pays to pay attention early on, right? We can't. We again, not hubris. Just I want you guys to get value out of this and sharing the experience, the screen time, the years and years of watching this stuff, right? We highlighted earlier. We're going to go to the settlement. We're going to fade, right? Let's judge the momentum of that fade. Usually on the retest, we're going to reclaim it. So there were two trades. There was two executable trades. You could have scalped it. You could have scalped the settlement short, took a couple points there, and yeah. So again, not looking to toot my own horn. I just want you guys to get value out of this. I want everybody to make money. God, it would make me so happy if everyone's just crushing it, making great money.
Take trade.
All right.
Filled.
I took so I bought that dip there, and I just scalped it though. You can't find the clock. Did you go to the Twitter feed? So here's the thing. I'm trying to judge, because obviously it takes me about, gosh, it takes me like an hour to put that stuff together in a format that's digestible by any viewers. I can draw it out for myself. I know I do it. So I'm trying to gauge if I don't know who's using it, who's not. And so I've been posting it for a long time, and without any feedback. And so I don't know if anyone's using it. So if you can, just please go to the Twitter feed. Let me see. What did I put there? Didn't I post? I posted the plan. Did I post the plan? Yep. I'm trying to understand who needs it, who's using it. Great.
Looking crude's not moving.
Hang tight, Stuart. Stuart says there's no sheets there. Hang on. No clock there. Hang on.
While you're doing that, I was just taking a look at crude. I kind of put like the 102, roughly the 102 level is a distribution. There's a low volume area. So we kind of have two different distributions. We, in April, went above that and were immediately shot down. We've been kind of playing around that level. I think if we could rotate and take out the 99.50 area, we could possibly start rotating a little bit lower in crude. But right now, it's all headline driven. I would have thought if there was explosions and stuff, the crude would be a little bit higher than up 25 cents.
Hang tight, Stuart. I'm just trying to manage this. This trade here. What the hell? Oh.
Yeah, no surprise. We're starting to see more of the sectors go a little bit, show more green. We say originally 2. The discretionary is up a penny. Financials are starting to get a bid. Financials have been somewhat strong. Energy.
Any levels there you can highlight for the folks watching on YouTube?
For if you've got, well,
sorry, go ahead.
No. Technology. Again, it's the only thing that's really pushing. Everything is kind of range bound, except technology. That's the only one that's in a new distribution. Everything is just kind of looking at from a formation standpoint. Everything is pretty much sideways. Maybe look at financials if we break above the 60 level on the XL, or I'm sorry, the energy level on the XLE. You've got the financials. Again, there's if we could get above the 53 level on the XLF, that might start rotating higher. And industrials have actually looked pretty good. Last week, was it Thursday? Caterpillar came out Thursday or Friday last week. Thursday, I think, with really strong numbers. But that's sideways. That's really not doing anything. Healthcare goes by its own drum. Staples, finally, Staples have started to get a bid, and they have just been beaten up. Surprisingly, with the market going down, they kind of went through, and they normally look at they kind of look as a defensive and usually get a bid if the market's going down, but not this time. Materials, again, they're sideways too. They're not doing, there's really not, from the equity part of this, there's really not a lot of movement. And surprisingly, real estate is actually one of the better performers. And that's it. I'm just curious, how is, actually, with Spirit going out of business and oil prices high, Jets is hanging in there. That's an ETF for the airline industry.
Hey, Adrian, I just saw your post, your comment. Hang tight. I had a post on there. It's coming through now. Hang on. All right, go check the feed now. It's up. Do me a favor.
Trying to push.
Check the post. Hang tight, Adrian. Coming at you. If you have it up, it's there now. Hang tight. Let me just get it in here.
What's going to be kind of key is we had that sell-off Friday afternoon. And it kind of started at the 72, 76 area. So watch that. It looks like they're going to try to run. It looks like they're trying to push that high. But I want to see how it reacts to, that's kind of the, I guess, the base of the sell-off or the beginning of the sell-off. So kind of watch the 72, 72 area. See how prices react. Like right now, it's, you know, value area from, let me take the session off. It just looking at the profile per bar, and this is a 30-minute bar, we're starting to drift higher. It looks like we'll get a distribution higher. And again, we're probably looking at 72, 72, 73 level is probably going to give us a little bit of resistance. So if it gets up there, watch how it reacts.
All right, guys, heads up here, right? So we just got into value. We're just testing value low, 72, 64, 75. Looking into it right now. But I think what's important to point out here is that, you know, we were below yesterday's low at 72.52. We reclaimed that. We showed some acceptance, and now we're getting the follow through higher. Let's see how, you know, okay, so we're back in the value, right? We're just trading in range. We still have to consider, so the most bullish argument is off the table. The most bearish argument off the open is off the table. We still have the dreaded sideways. So watch the 72.70 to 72.75 area for some resistance. Again, the overnight high 72.79. 75.
Yeah, if we could get those, if we get past that, I think we'll make a push. But I think the way that tempo is, it's kind of slow. I think if we get to that level, I would almost fade that. But again, it just, the tempo is just really slow.
Right. Yeah. So, you know, if we get up, it looks like we're going to get up there within probably the next 15-minute print. That may be a setup. Internals have flipped positive, 1-to-1 positive on the NYSE, 1-to-1 positive on the NASDAQ. Russell is strong as usual. Oh, the 10-year is at 4.4.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that, but it's, you know, that's.
Yeah, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, you know, again, with oil up there, and you got the yields again touching almost 4.5.
Mm-hmm.
Markets again, but it's a market is just so narrow in its rally, and it's all memory chips. I mean, SanDisk, the SanDisk, you could have bought that. Well, this year, no. It was at. You could have bought that at 244. It's at 1,200.
Jeez.
You could have bought it last. When was it? Last May. You could have bought it at $38, and again, it's at 1,250.
My God, I know. So Rich was pointing that out to me, and God, that's insane. Just an insane move in the whole chip space, semis. I think TLB was posting about that either last week or
Lam, even Lam, Qualcomm. I mean, they're just, everything is just exploding. But you know, this funny one that's kind of lagging is NVIDIA.
Yeah, I noticed that.
You know, sideways, it hasn't really done much in months. In fact, it's on the verge of possibly breaking down. It's on support.
If you
go ahead.
No. So Trey made an interesting comment about that in his video. I don't remember it. I don't want to scorch it. So go check out that video. It's on our YouTube page. If you didn't catch it when he delivered it, he spoke about how that being the laggard might be something of a signal. I don't remember it exactly, but go check it out. It's on the page. It was posted last night. Trey goes on every Sunday night at 5:30 and gives his outlook for the week. I tune in. It's great stuff.
It's 5:30 Eastern.
Right. Yep. Good.
So yeah, watch it. And again, if we start getting some acceleration to the downside in NVIDIA and it starts making news, it's going to bring all the other chip stocks down with it. It's going to and this potentially could pull this market down. I would watch this if it starts rotating down towards the end of the opposite end of its distribution around the 167. That will make news. That will hit all the tech or all the semis. And if the semis go, the rest of the market's going to go, because that's the only thing keeping the market up right now.
Yeah. I think it's just an explosive tape right now. Things are moving higher. We'll see. I think, I don't know. Is NVIDIA going to be a late bloomer? I can't make sense of it. But I'm a technician
first. Maybe it's at first.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I watch Trey's video, because he really brings light to that situation. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, NVIDIA was the one that really got the news going early, and that was in 2022, 23. That's the one that really exploded because of this AI thing. But like I said, it's been in a balanced distribution since July, so almost 12 months. But I definitely watch. If we start breaking down below 195, that may start catching some headlines.
Yeah, this thing is it attempted that breakout and failed. That's an interesting look.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to call it a head and shoulders yet.
Right. I mean, I kind of had this mapped out before, but I don't think it's.
Yeah, but if you get a little bit of a break there and demand dries up. But again, it's, value. We're kind of setting up today the relationship, and it's nothing strong, but the value of today is a little bit lower than yesterday. Or Friday, excuse me. So just watch that. It doesn't really mean anything as of yet, but watch that line that's from Thursday afternoon. It seems like they're defending that. A break below that, I think we rotate down. But I'd watch that 72.35-ish area, which seems to have held. And again, this is a daily bar. So again, the value area is a little bit lower from Friday, but this can easily change, especially if we get up to roughly the 72.90-ish area. We start going above the 72.76 area and start rotating above that. This will change the dynamics, and I think we rotate higher.
Hey, Tom, I'm gonna leave you for 3 minutes. I just want to go use the bathroom, grab something. Be right back.
Yeah, because I'm going to have to bail out fairly. I got a meeting this out in about 15 minutes.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll carry it.
Just give me a few minutes.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. Again, we're just really not changing this to a 30-minute chart. Just kind of hanging above that. So let's, again, another quiet Monday. Really not a huge range. We did get positive. That's good. Even gold is starting to catch a bid. Everything's quiet. Even, I mean, look at, we really haven't had much of a move since all from Friday. Just sideways in crude. So that tells you a lot. Bond market's quiet. It's not really giving you much. And this is a yielder at 441. Now, why did it get today? Now VIX is up a little bit. It's 1717. A little bit off the lows from Friday. Yeah, here's another example of the point I was trying to make is it's such a narrowly based rally. This is a chart, it's an ETF of RSP, which is an equally weighted ETF of the S&P 500 versus the SPY, which is based on a company's size, not price. But we're not even hitting new highs at that. So we're right there, but we didn't break to new highs. So this is basically an illustration and showing that, yeah, this is all the semis. It's all chips. Balanced market's really not hitting new highs. And when this starts, it just illustrates it's a much broader rally. And this is just telling us it's a little bit more defined rally and not everybody's involved. Transport's really sold off, obviously. Has to do with the high price of crude. What's the Russell doing? Russell's at new highs. So that's positive. You got the small caps, the Russell 2000 hitting new highs. So that helps. Market's pushing a little bit. Oops. We're starting to get towards that area that I'm saying to watch, this 72 area. So watch. I don't know if you could tell on this, but it's roughly the 72.70 area. This was a lot of volume that came into towards the, let me, So yeah, 72, 71, 72, 40, 74 area. That's going to be the area you want to take a look at. These high volume areas from Friday. This was happening at the 2:30 or Central Time, 3:30 Eastern Time. And just for clarification, is Trey speaks at 5:30 Eastern Time. So just know that, since people on the East Coast think that the world revolves around your time zones.
I'm back. Thanks for holding it down for me, Tom.
No, not a problem. Yeah, I'm gonna have to bail out shortly. Like I said, I got a meeting I got to attend, but yeah, it's starting to get to that level. What was the high on that bar? 72.68. Yeah, I'm watching this area from Friday. If this holds, we could start rotating down. If we break above that, we may start rotating, taking out the highs from Friday. May. So again, it's a choppy market. It seems like every Monday is like this. This is kind of the theme of our talk, is kind of choppy, listless, not a lot of tempo to the any kind of move at all. Well, again, is Russell 2000 hit new highs.
Oh yeah. Window where I need to make a decision. Fish or cut bait.
So long.
Fish or cut bait.
Yeah.
Like I'll leave. I don't know. I think I'm pretty much at the point where I don't want to sit through a pullback, essentially. But we'll see. We'll see what happens here. I mean, I'm also, taking it in other. I've been scalping it long on these little small dips using the algo.
Looks like it wants to try to run it.
Yep.
Leandering up there. I mean, it's just really not doing much. There's no tempo to this. Are you getting, is Spygate showing anything? I mean,
I haven't heard it. I haven't heard it go off. Let me just check it real quick. Hang on a second. Come on, fill me, baby. Let's see. Spygate. That's a good eye, Tom. Yeah, it's not that active today.
Yeah, it's not surprising.
We haven't even hit. I think, what do we have? We have 2.7 billion. That's a sign also. That's a tell right there. That there's a look, again, I'm gonna go out on a limb here, but when you see price drifting up higher like this and there's lack of participation, I'm always on alert, right? I'm on alert for that, especially if I'm long from the way I am from 72.21. I don't want to overstay. Like I said, I don't want to overstay my welcome.
No, it's that's experience.
There's nothing behind this, and that's a great point, Tom, because it has not been going off. I haven't heard any chirps, any croaks, any knocks, nothing. And that's just that, over the time I've been watching it and using it, that's definitely a tell.
Mm-hmm.
That's a sign something's amiss.
So again, it's that 72, 71 area. It's not real defined. These are not support resistance lines, but from Friday, that area seemed to. There wasn't a lot of demand above this, right? It was just continued. So again, I'm watching that. It looks like it's backed off that a little bit. What time is it? 9:40. Yeah, it just, we're trying to hold it and watch. If it can't, we may start rotating down.
I'm sorry, what was that level again, Tom? Can you repeat that?
72, 71 area on the chart.
Yep. Okay, cool.
It's just in that general area, 70 to 72, 74. Again, it's just a little bit of high volume that the market couldn't get really. That's where it looks like the sellers push in and push the market down. But they're going to kind of there. Again, just watch it. Who knows what the market's going to do? It's going to do what it wants to do.
Right.
It would be one area that I'm going to watch to see how prices react.
Yeah. And if you guys got the market blueprint and that zone right there is Tom's level is right in there. So heads up, approaching that level now. And if again, it's hard not to take that setup, right? Because you have time and price on your side. I don't know. I just don't like. I just generally don't like to fade the market at all. I was told by my mentor, like the S&P moves from lower left to upper right. There's plenty of action there, even on down days. Leave the shorting of the market to the pros. And you're swimming against the tide. And she just drilled it into my head over and over and over again. And then, when the first hallmark of the guys that I coach is, the first thing I'm telling them is, hey, we're going to stay on this side until we learn how to do it right. All right. That's why it's about building the right habits. It's about building the mindset for execution. And there's a way that you can train that. You can build those habits. And that's why it's important to stick to the plan, follow it the way I coach it, because sometimes they'll get they get unhappy because they have to trade only one contract for a certain amount of time, and that there's a reason for that. But if I tell them the reason, they won't understand it, and then they'll try to fight it. But when you stick to it and you follow it, and then later on you understand why, it's not really about trading one contract. It's about executing all in, all out. Mm-hmm. And it's about building the mindset. It's about building a mindset to prevent the emotional trading. So yeah, I won't rant on about that anymore.
That's as important as anything we talk about as far as levels go. It's the process. We all look. We've all gone through periods of trading is great. You kind of you're in tune. But it's not what the market's doing. It's your process prior to. Is if the rest of the world is quiet, because we all life is messy sometimes. And you're in there, you're focused, you're watching what you're doing, you're doing your process every night, every morning. That's when success is, or it has been for me, is get your process down, get your success down. You don't have to trade a zillion different setups and all that other stuff. I think you asked me I think it was last Monday, talking about what I notice about early traders and what their problems are.
Oh, yeah.
They do too much. It really is. That's, they're looking at a zillion different indicators. I could tell, you go on YouTube or any of these channels, Twitter and all that, and you see some guy with 15 different indicators and zillion lines. He's an amateur. You could see that a mile away.
Yeah.
The cleaner the charts, the more successful the trader is. And, start at one base, use that, try to improve on that. So it did bail off a little bit. The market pulled back a little bit off that, not much.
Yeah, I mean, it's ES, right? So I always look at I don't look at ES ever as one price. I everything I do is in 4 or 5 point bands because it can overshoot. I think it's prudent to look at it that way. Because I mean, you can hit 1 point, but it just overshoots. And it tends to lose steam into bands. It tends to overshoot. So I mean, that's what this works for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, like I said, I have to cut out early, sir.
Okay.
I do appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Tom, for helping me out today, for coming on, sharing your ideas, sharing your thoughts. Always a value add.
No, thank you. I appreciate it, guys. Good trading.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, guys. So that's one of the things that Tom spoke about was some guys on YouTube like having a lot of indicators and stuff, and that's one of the reasons why we kind of built this out is to help develop traders, right? Help develop the right mindset for success. I think it's hubris to jump on YouTube and build a following, and you're not teaching anyone anything. You're not helping them develop the right mindset. You're trading 25,000 accounts, and you're basically just a big stake gambler, and that look, there's a place for that. I get it. But here, I don't think that that's built for longevity. I think that that's a really frustrating road. Again, that's why the guy, the people that I work with, it's, because most traders don't look, and that's another thing about about watching other people trade without a development focus, is that most of those approaches are more entertainment, and they don't give you anything solid to learn on. And the fundamental issue there, the fundamental breakdown, is that the exchange is one way, right? So you're watching someone, you're listening to someone, but they don't know what your struggles are. They don't know why you might have revenge trade. They don't know why you pulled the trigger there. And that's why, I, in my opinion, a mentor or coaching is so important, right? Because that is the only way that you can address your specific challenges. You can't learn in a one directional way. The learning takes a student and a teacher. The teacher needs to analyze the student and also provide, they need to provide a format that helps that specific student's needs. But I'll stop ranting about that now. Most traders already have enough knowledge. What they tend to lack is control. That's the kind of stuff I'm focused on when I work I have 2 guys I'm coaching right now, not just where to enter, but how to operate over the course of a day, a week, how you build out your week, how you stay profitable all the week, what days to attack the tertiary benefits, the tertiary approach to trading. Most of the stuff out there doesn't build long-term success. It just builds like short-term excitement. mean, nothing against YouTube content. You can learn a ton of stuff from there. Most of it is just designed to get views. All right, looks like we're coming back up to that 72.71 that Tom posted out. Let's see what happens when we get there. Thanks, Easy Money. Appreciate it. Appreciate the support. Thank you. So I go back every day after the close and I review what I said, right? Because I want to make sure I'm getting it right. I want to make sure that I'm being thorough and concise, and most importantly, I want to make sure everybody's making money, right? If it's important that if you heard what I said, did that make you money? That's the bottom line of this. Nothing else matters aside from that. And so just know that I'm perfecting that craft. Every day I try to get a little bit better at it. Easy Mindset. I think if you haven't, I think I missed when you went over how you create your levels. Yeah. So no, I haven't. So I haven't done that workshop yet. Easy Money. Just to be straightforward with you, I haven't. Um, it's just, yeah, it's just lack of time. I just haven't had the time. All right, guys, it looks like we're fading here. Be careful. If you have the clock, bingo dingo. You knew what to expect here. I've lined up. I am out of everything now. It's close enough for me. Hang tight real quick, guys. I'm going to be right back. Let me just go use the bathroom.
First pullback, take trade.
Sorry about that, guys. Got my kids home sick from school today. All right, so let's see. We traded down, tested yesterday's low, 72.52, and bounced right to the tick. Right to the tick. Let me see what the high looks like. Yeah, this is weird. This is odd right here. Be careful right here. We might be doing the inside day thing. Although, hang tight. 72. What's our daily low here? 72.42 quarter. Yeah. Okay. All right. So what's the next trade, right? I can't believe I missed that, right? That's the one I called out in the pre-market, right? Where we break up, we test into value, get the pullback down to test this higher balance area, 72.52, and then look for entries long. So I kind of whiffed on that. Not happy about it. Let me see if the ATAs did anything for me. Let me see if the algo did anything for me. No, nope. Actually, I have them off, which is fine. I'm fine with that. I'm not in a real rush to trade here because of I got that really good trade in the pre-market, and I want to be careful here to figure out if look, the one thing that matters is capital preservation above all else, right? Not blowing your account on some winding trade or something that just doesn't make sense because you see price moving. That's not what we do around here. So with that being said, obviously when you have a nice gain on the day, you want to try to protect some of that. Obviously, you certainly want to participate in any further gains, but you want to be mindful of that first. So with that being said, gosh, I can't believe I missed that. I walked out. I always it's like whenever I want to pull back, the number one thing I have to do is buy it, right? As soon as I buy it, it pulls back. And whenever it's like it's clockwork. I walk out of the office, it sells, it goes right down to the support. I should have been long 52, 53, Instead, I'm looking at a 60. I'm not buying it with 10 points of risk on a trade that's inside yesterday's range, inside the overnight range. This market is not telling me, hey, we're going to go directionally bound. We're going to blast off here. That's not the read. So, yeah, it's things. I think that's the most frustrating part is missing the trade. Where the hell did that go? All right, fading back down again. 57. What time is it? Check. Okay. 11:08. Yeah, this is so when you get it on the first touch, this is now is when you're sliding your stop to break even. What do you guys got out there? What are you guys trading? Let me know. Let me know what's going on with you. Share the info. Long, short, what's the trade? What are you thinking? Trying some shorts in MES over the last few days. All right, cool. But who knows? Just think we escalate in the war. All right. I mean, that's one perspective. I get it. Fading right back down to test that yesterday's low, 72.52. So hey, if we get back below 72.52, guys, it's a that's a big tell, right? So because we went, so here, let's draw it out, right? Let's map this out. All right. So look, if we go back, if we get, so that means that overnight this move lower, this sell, this liquidation break continued in the Globex session, right? All right. So that overnight inventory was short, right? It started long, but ultimately it came in short, and then that inventory corrected, right? So we got the move up. It started before the RTH session and continued higher. So we got the move up to correct this inventory that was net short, right? Okay. So boom. So we got the move up, right? And then now what happened? Then we tested into value. We got as high as we tested into value. We went as high as what? 72.70, and then faded right from where the Tom spoke about. And now if we get back below yesterday's low, that's a look into value and fail. We start looking for something like this, right? And with our first target being right here. Right? We look for settlement and yesterday's low to fail on the second test. We're testing it now for the second time. All right, let's watch it here. If we get back through the open, 72.50, get back through yesterday's low, 72.52, then we can start looking at pullbacks for short entries. And the risk is going to be wide on that, 72.58. So be mindful of that. But then we could we can consider a short scalp down to 72.39, 72.42, and then maybe even potentially a move down to the overnight low. At that point, we want to be in a runner, but this has to prove it, right? It has to get down there, has to get below yesterday's low and the open, and it has to stick. We got the first touch bounce. Now let's see. And this is why this is why it's going to be so important that you guys, the execution clock, there's nothing else like it, but you have to know the nuances behind each day. There's a huge nuance about S4 days. There's a huge nuance about S2 days. Every day has a nuance. Every day has a character type. And it's important to know that. That's why I highly recommend that you monitor it, but don't try to frame your trades around it. That's all. Popping. So another bounce off of off the opening print, another bounce off of yesterday's low. Let's see if it has traction. This could just be the pullback here. Staying long-minded on the second touch. And taking small positions, small scalps, hoping that it gains legs, it has traction, and that this level holds. Our internals are positive. Oh, we gotta. Oh, heads up. So the VIX came down and filled its gap, and then immediately reversed. That's interesting to note. That now lines up with Vega. That could be that's volatility being priced in, risk being priced in. We have to be mindful of that. We have to be careful here. Maybe we're going to see a break below. So the question is, if you want to fade a pop, where do you fade it from? Well, you can try to scalp it at, I don't know, 72.57, 72.55, somewhere in there, which are back up against the settlement at 72.58, maybe just a little bit higher into this wick, 72.60, and see if it sticks. But we are now below VWAP and below our fast and slow moving averages. Who knows? It may stick. Okay, good. So I just got taken out break even. And this is kind of lining up with that look, guys. Another test. Now we're below it, right? Now we're below yesterday's low. We went through the open. 3 tests of the daily open and of that level, and buyers were unable to bounce it. They bounced it each time, but they were unable to gain a following, I should say. So let's watch this very carefully here. That scalp entry, I was considering it too at 72.57. We just never got there. Fast tape, very, 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 very common feature of this day type, especially on an S4 cycle day 1. When you start to understand like how the clock plays in with the cycle days, I mean, you will never see the market the same. Never, ever, ever. Patience won't be a problem. Getting shaken out of moves, obviously that's always a challenge. But if your challenge is patience, guys, you need to use the clock. $11.19. We're coming into our final 10 minutes here. Do me a favor, if you're watching on YouTube, X, or any of the other social channels, please hit that like button. Give us a thumbs up. Let us know how we're doing. Drop a comment. No thin skin here. We just want to get to know you. Remember, we're the traders that want to help people develop. We pick up the phone. Whoa, whoa, whoa. There's a move. Okay. All right. So the news is out? Oh, yeah, baby. Let's go. I hope you guys caught this move. Hey, Easy Money. How you doing? No, sir, B. No, sir. No, sir. Not at all. Watch these ticks right here, guys. Watch these ticks. Negative 954. Bounce. Is it going to bounce? 7 contracts traded at the low. Failed auction at 72.32.75. Are we going to look below that 72.39 and reclaim it? VIX popping. The VIX is popping, guys. Holy shit. So is the 10-year. Oh, and Russell's collapsing. Okay, so the structure is building out on on Nasdaq and ES much the same, and the Russell is now testing like this structure right here. So we'll see what happens. See what happens here. Sweet, sweet move, man. Sweet, sweet move. I hope some of you guys caught it. Really nice move. So yeah, look, guys, if you're short, target that overnight low to satisfy that statistic. I think you'll be well rewarded now. So, all right, so let's see. Looks like the Iranian National Guard regulations announced by God's instructions. I don't know what that means. Missile threat from UAE. Watch for that 72.39, 72.40 reclaim. All right. If you're short, I would think that that's your risk marker. Um, yeah, look, we ate into that 4 hour tail, guys. That was the tail right there. Oh man, this could get really. Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen. Watch for a bounce here. Careful. 72.23. If you got that set up, if you got the market blueprint, you know what to do down here. Oil, yep. J Mark points out that oil's popping 105, almost 106. That's a wicked 15-minute candle, dude. That's a wild. Wow, watch this area right here, 72.23. Unable to gain any traction to the upside. Jeez. Brent is up over 114, I'm hearing. Brent over 114. All right, all right, that level held. If you guys got the blueprint, you know what? You know you should have done right here. I'm peeling off right here. Taking some off, +5. Looking for +8. I'm not gonna I want to get big. I want to get a lot of these off early and then move to break even because I'm not trusting this move. But if you got the market blueprint, you know what to do here. If you got the clock, that it's not. We got time and price. More off at +4. And that's just because I went in pretty big, not comfortable with it. Average is 72.2650. I'm looking for 72.3650 for 10. Okay, there we go. There we go. Come, yeah, baby, let's go. Filled on those +10. Filled on those for 10 points. I'm looking for 72.40 on the next. Actually, I'm looking for 72.38 quarter. That's what makes sense here. I'm going to run into trouble at 72.39 quarter. But that's the need, right? If we reclaim that 72.39, but I want to be getting out ahead of that danger zone that we outlined in the pre-market. Just makes sense. Actually, I just took it off right now. +8.5 on that one. What a beauty from the AM high. That's just beautiful. That is just beautiful. Watch 72.39 quarter. All right, guys, that's 11:30. All right, everyone, that's going to wrap it up for me for today for the morning session. Wait. News out about the UAE, something about drone attacks. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for me for today. You got the levels, you got timing. If you got anything out of this at all, please do me a favor, like, comment, or subscribe. If you want to go deeper into the execution clock or the market blueprint, trade plan, email me at manny@pitbulltraders.com. Also, if you're looking for funding, go visit pitbulltraders.com as well. That's where all the Spygate tools, all the MIM clock, everything is listed there. Now, go execute, take logical trades that make sense, and we'll see you next time.
First pullback, take trade.
Let me just get a side of this. Let's try this.